Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing.
Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 504 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. Thank you so much for being here and always supporting the podcast by listening and sharing and subscribing and giving me a 5-star review if you're so inclined. You know, all the ways you can show love to a podcast. Thank you for that. And I love you right back. All right, so I follow James Clear on X. He's one of the brilliant young minds of today, in my humble opinion. Give him a follow. You won't regret it. But he posted something the other day where he said this: being yourself is a continuous effort. There's always another expectation placed upon you, another person pulling you toward their preferences, another nudge from society to act a certain way. It's a daily battle to be yourself, not merely what the world wants you to be. It's true, isn't it? Since we live in a world where most of us have to deal with other people regularly, it's sometimes challenging to know what it is you think. Like, what do I think about this thing or this event or this person without any other input? I try to ask myself that question a lot, like, just what do I think about this? Not the part of me that's influenced by others, but the part of me that's impervious to influence, the part of me that's connected to my higher source. We all have that part, by the way. It's just that sometimes it's been drowned out by the other part. The other part that's incessantly thinking about how we fit in or match up or how we look or what they're thinking about us. Intentional thinking happens from the part of us that's connected to that higher source. It's kind of hard to get to that part that's connected to the higher source, though, when we spend most of our time making decisions from the other part, which is easily influenced. That part that people pleases or gets easily offended, worries incessantly about what other people think, focuses on consuming rather than creating. You see, things work best when you're aligned and making decisions from the part of you that's connected to your higher source. Some people, like elite athletes or elite military teams, call it being in the flow. So that flow happens when you stop thinking from your ego. You're going with the flow instead of worrying about how you look to the crowd when you catch the ball or make the hit or throw the pass. Same is true when you're in a high-level meeting, giving a presentation, or in the flow writing the latest chapter in your book. Whatever you're doing, whatever you do daily, when you're in the flow, it just gets better. But it's hard to be in the flow when all you're doing is thinking about yourself. I was thinking the other day about our upcoming annual Christmas party, and as I was thinking about it, I felt this huge amount of stress just kind of flow over me. And I was like, why is it always so stressful for me? I just asked myself that question, like, why do I breathe a sigh of relief once it's over and think, okay, now I can get on to the joy of Christmas? And then I realized it's because it's the stress of me thinking about me. And only me and my ego. Basically worrying about how I'm going to look or how the house is going to look. What if the food tastes bad? What if the person comes or this person doesn't come? I'm only focused on me and my ego. I wasn't focusing on how so many people say our party represents the true start of Christmas season, or how they look forward to it every year, or how it's one of their favorite nights. I wasn't focusing on just how blessed we are to have so many close friends and family that are able to come to our house and just enjoy the start of the holiday season. When I stop focusing on me and start focusing on just allowing everything to unfold as it will, the stress melts away. Now, I know that Eric and I will have already done the work to make the party a success as much as we can. So really, if we just relax and let it all unfold, then I have a much better time. And because I have to stop focusing so much on me when it comes to that stuff. We often let our ego cause us to hold back or give up altogether. I literally think about canceling our Christmas party every year because of my own silly thoughts, mainly having to do with my ego. I mean, it's easier to not have the party because then I don't have to deal with the expectations, but every year we end up having it. And every year I'm so glad we did. And guess what? People are just happy to be at a cozy party where there's a lot of laughter and joy for the holiday season. One year, some of the food actually didn't show up, which is a nightmare for me. But a friend of mine came through and she made a pit stop at Chick-fil-A where she grabbed 100 chicken nuggets, Well, let me tell you something. They were demolished and were the biggest hit of the party, way more popular than the fancy food that we would have had it showed up. See, it's always okay. When I get out of my own head, it is always okay, even if something does happen, like the food doesn't show up. When I stop focusing on me and the drama about me in my head, things get better quickly. It's normal to feel a little self-conscious, but normal never threw amazing parties. Normal doesn't do extraordinary things. I think I get into my head a lot. We probably all do. That's a normal thing to do. Like I said, the other day I was working on my podcast at home when the girls that clean our house showed up. Now they're wonderful and they've been with us for about 18 years now, so they are like family. But when I say they show up, it's not like they show up and we chat and they mull about for the first 10 minutes. No. There are usually 5 of them and they come in like a tornado. I mean, each one has their specific job and they get right to it. So I'm just in the way. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get out of your way. And I take my laptop, to the corner local coffee shop, which is right around the corner. And when I get there, I was expecting it was like 2 in the afternoon. I was expecting it to be very quiet, but it wasn't. It was so packed. And the only table that was left was right in the middle of the room. So I grab my coffee and I sit down and I'm feeling really exposed. Like people could read what I was writing and how was I ever going to work under these circumstances? And I had all of these thoughts in my head like, well, I just do not like being right in the center of the room. I cannot possibly work on my podcast under these conditions. And then I paused and I looked around. Everyone was busy either working or chatting with their friends. My self-consciousness was just completely unfounded. So I put my head down and I got right to work. I forgot all about the thoughts in my head. And I was able to finish no problem at all. And an hour later, as I looked up, I realized that so many of the people were gone and I hadn't even noticed them leave. We get so in our heads sometimes and we're worried about how we look to others, or we try to read their minds and what are they thinking about me, when most often than not, they're not thinking about you at all. I mean, they may notice me and may even be curious what I'm typing, but after a minute or two, they're on to the next person that walked in, or they're on to what they're doing. I know because that's what I do. I notice things, and sometimes I notice people, but I'm not dwelling on them. It's our ego that wants to believe that others are busy thinking about us, but more likely than not, they're busy thinking about themselves. That's human nature. When you realize that, you can relax into your own world without the need to be so self-conscious. Being self-conscious is normal. Getting past it and doing great things, though, that's not really normal. When I was sitting at that center table of a packed coffee house, my main thought, was just to leave and try to maybe work in the car. But I worked through that security and I worked through all those self-conscious thoughts in my head and I stayed. I got over myself. I got into alignment and I got to work. You can do hard things. And moving past that insecurity, moving past the normal self-conscious thoughts, even though that's hard, but to do great things, you have to quit thinking about failure and start focusing on what it's going to take to succeed. Sometimes it means you have to stay when you want to leave, or leave when you want to stay. It may mean throwing the party, even though there may be a little stress that comes with it. It may mean putting your resume in for the promotion or asking for the date. What does it mean to you, I wonder? My challenge to you this week is to notice when your ego is holding you back. Remember, it's normal to feel self-conscious and normal for that feeling to hold you back, but normal is not the goal. You're not listening to this podcast because you're normal. You want to be wildly successful. You want to be extraordinary. In order to do that, you're going to have to move past the feeling of discomfort that comes with doing great things. Share this with 3 people who are doing great things. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days.
Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.